Okay, there's Jake going for it. Heavy work by himself. Yeah, making it happen. All right, okay, here's the deal. I want to point you guys towards 3 or 4, if we have time, 1 or 2, some channels that I've discovered that have been pointed out to me, some in the comments, of guys that are in the construction space, they're adjacent to my world, who are doing really worthwhile things, and each with their own flavor, each with their own really compelling aspect, whether they're an exceptional storyteller, or in Jake's case, man, he does heavy, good work by himself. Got to respect that. There are several examples here of people who bring their own personalities to building things, and that, for me, is compelling, and I hope that if you watch this react video to these guys' channel, that you go to their channel, that you subscribe, that you shine some light on them, because that's what I want to do here today, because there's nothing or not too many things that are better than pointing out someone who deserves the recognition they haven't received yet. One framing job, but a heck of a framing job. Okay. Wow. Shred pile, what a name. Apparently he did not do the concrete. Apparently he's got a heck of a truck. Okay, those bolts are rusty. They've been there a while. Okay, here's the thing. Couple of observations right off the bat. He's moving along fast enough. I'm not going to be able to dive too deep, and it's probably just as well because I don't have much information. But a framing job, we have some retaining. We have a house that is tucked down into an Oregon hillside. There's bound to be water management problems. It looks like tight access. And Jake is no spring chicken. He's not a young man. And that partially or maybe completely explains why he's got so much great equipment. I think he's got a telehandler, he's got carts, he's got mechanical advantage, and he's got a tower crane that appears to be remote controlled. Let's see what he does. Weld plates, fall leaves, camera shadow, what a pain that is. Okay, he is wedge anchoring down all of his bottom plates. Stout. Yeah. Seal. Plate washers. All right, now we begin to deal with the water. I hope that turns out to be a win. I have no idea what that paper is underneath. Taping the joints. By himself, boys. Okay, notice that cart right there with the lumber on it. Probably loaded it with the crane right off the truck, onto the cart, to the site. Staging his material. Okay. Now let me just throw this out. This guy's only got 23,000 subscribers. We can help with that because anybody who's got courage enough to set up a camera and do a job like this by himself is bringing a lot to the party. Okay, I'm skipping ahead because we've got several channels to show you, but I've skipped to this part right here with this structural steel, apparently fabricated off-site, drilled, gotta hope it fits. He's a man after my own heart. He welds, he cuts, he rigs, he frames by himself. That's a heavy piece of iron. Look at that. All right, we're back to framing. It's wet, the floor is slippery. Okay, let's jump forward a little more. Oop, what's that? Okay, he's fastening down into a ledge in the foundation. He's coming up to the second floor. Let's jump ahead. Oh, look at his truck. It's a heavy plate. Oh, it's a ledger. Got it. Bolting the ledger to the wall, so those walls are not necessarily holding the floor system. Okay, we've jumped way forward, but I want to look at how constrained the site is. Our spec house project was a tough site. This is a tougher site. I would love to know. And Jake, if you watch this and you weigh in on the comments, is that your tower crane, and is that remote controlled? And what the heck? That's a beautiful tool. But look at that. He's contained and controlled the site from the woodlands around there, and he's up in the air. And let me just say this: one man doing this work and running a stinking camera. Jake, I'd love to talk to you about the pressure and the frustrations of trying to build something complex like this and worry about camera angle. Oh, there's a man helping him. Can't fault him for that. Was that a crane operator? I don't know. Okay, that camera must be mounted on the crane. That's not moving. All right, look at that. Okay, there, my friends, is a pro-level wall straightening technique. You see that with that brace fastened at the bottom and fastened at the top, pushing a bow into the middle of that brace pulls the wall back. Okay? That is a very cool thing. All right, we're going to stop the video right there. I hope that you're curious. I hope you go to his channel and watch every second of this thing and give him a like and a sub and a comment. He deserves it just for running the camera while you're doing this work. But Jake, you're an Oregonian that's making it happen. Salute, brother. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, now most of us didn't know what this was until someone called Essential Craftsman on YouTube showed it to us.
Okay.
So let's make it better for him. Now, tool making has actually been a passion of mine for several years now. I got into it when I was about 12 years old, when I started blacksmithing and making knives in my backyard.
Oh, boy.
And even though I ended up pursuing carpentry long term, the tinkering and metalworking aspect has stayed with me, and it continues to benefit me in my everyday life.
Yeah, it does.
Now,
Lots in common.
Is the Vaughn Super Steel rigging axe.
Yep.
And what's special about this one is this one is older, so it's probably got a little bit better alloy of steel, but it's also only 25 ounces. And all the modern ones that you can get from Vaughn are 28 ounces.
Okay.
Now to compare this to this here, which is a Forester rigging axe,
No name.
the difference here is a great example of why this alloy is a little bit more desirable.
Yeah, man.
You can see here on this lower quality one,
Good.
the face is all mushroomed.
Upset. All right, so our next candidate is Jarod Coffman. He's out of Colorado. He's reached out to me before, and I just wasn't really able to sort of jump in on the project that he was proposing, but he's an interesting young guy. More so to me because he's a blacksmith since his youth and a framer. Now, he mentioned Vaughn rigging axes. There it is. That was given to me by a friend named Dave to replace the one that I wore out when I was framing. He's absolutely right. 28 ounce is the contemporary or most recent Vaughn size, but they don't even they're hard to find. But it is good alloy. Jarod is exactly right. He does interesting things on his channel. He does nonprofit work. He travels to different places like Mexico to build things in Habitat for Humanity. And if you needed any other character reference than that, then you're being too fussy. But go to his channel, check him out, because this guy is fun to watch, and he's a blacksmith.
Now because the hammer's already hardened, we're going to want to use some carbides. Because these...
Okay, he's using a carbide burr. He's going to dig a little hole in the edge of his rigging axe.
won't dull on the hardened steel surface.
Yep.
I know, don't make fun of me, I don't have an actual rotary tool.
That's fine, man, it's fine. You're making it happen.
First, just going to...
See that little pocket?
So I can use this to kind of put a little hole in the side of the hammer here, and then this little slot here is what will actually grab the nail itself.
Yes. Barely.
Kind of like this, but I need to make it a little deeper.
Yeah, a little further. That's a vinyl coated sinker. That's what you use. Okay, a little different burr. See that? Put a flat bottom on the hole. Don't drill all the way through.
This is what I'm going to use to make the little slot for the nail head.
Yeah, don't break it off.
All right, now let's test this thing out and see if I got the slot deep enough.
Looks like it's gonna work, maybe. It's a prototype. Gotta be a little deeper, man. I'm not sure it's deep enough. See, that's got a longer fulcrum.
All right, so I just need to go a little bit further.
All right, we're going to skip ahead a little bit to the final reveal on what he accomplished. I haven't seen it yet either, but I can tell you this is a hard-working kid. This is somebody who takes his craft and his production seriously, and apparently he takes the welfare of the people around him seriously too. You got to love that. Check him out. Let's see what you've got done, man.
Give this a little bit of a rough sand. Then a little nail gun oil will do perfect for this.
Oh, he blackened the handle.
Still hot.
Oil it.
I'll drop a little oil up on the eye as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, he's got it on a handle. Got it shined up. Rub that in. Yes, and
Wow, that handle is still hot.
give us a look. There it is. Look at that. All right. So Jarod, well done. It's a good idea. I'm a little bit skeptical that the actual length of that fulcrum is enough to be effective, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes it'll get you out of a jam, and day in, day out, nothing big beats a rigging axe for putting nails in. And if you put them in the right spot, you don't have to pull them out. But anyhow, 2 thumbs up, Jarod. Keep it up, man. I'm going to start watching you more regularly. Let's see who we've got on here next. Okay, so this is another interesting and perhaps underrated channel. It's called Marshall Remodel. Paul Marshall. He was a police officer in the Midwest someplace. He and his bride saved and saved and scrimped and saved and got the cash they needed to do this. They did it. I don't know how this turned out. Something tells me that there was probably a steep learning curve. But the rest of the story is that they are now building things like this over and over again and creating a video record of it. That's what Brady tells me. So let's see how their maiden voyage went. A little bit of it. Go to his channel. I think you will be perhaps as engaged and interested and curious, frankly curious, as I am right now about how these people do and what they learn. Okay. Okay, let me just point out how gutsy that is. He's got a homemade gin pole stuck in the bucket of a backhoe, putting those trusses up there, and they're high, and he appears to be by himself. No, I've got a ground man on one end at least. Or maybe that's him. Okay, use a strap to hold that over there. Okay, if you haven't been up off the ground like that, on a pole barn configuration, and I watched some of the intermediate clips, this is done like RR Builders does. They showed us on Jimmy DeResta's shop. Beautiful build, where it's a sonotube, it's concrete pier in the ground, you got a bracket coming up so that your posts are not in contact with soil. That's great, but all of the shear and all of the bracing happens above the ground. So everything feels a little wobbly right now. Look at all the ratchet straps he's got providing X bracing and cross bracing. This takes some nerve and some smarts, and he's got to get up there and unhook that gin pole. Dropping it into the post. Yeah, that's a good connection. Okay, so
feels much better.
that feels much better, he says. Yes, it does. He's in a snorkel lift. He's putting the purlins in one after the other, and the whole thing is getting better. Let's skip ahead and get a look and see kind of towards the end of this. But let me tell you, there's underground, there's concrete, there's radiant floor heating, there's all kinds of stuff. Maybe some more of that's coming up, but this guy's bitten off a big project. All right, so we've got foam and we've got
so
radiant.
You can
radiant
have
heat.
the confidence to do some of this stuff on your own, and the only way you learn is by just jumping in there and doing it.
Okay, pause, comma. He's right. The only way you learn is by jumping there and doing it. But you can cost yourself more money than you can afford to pay. This is impressive. I mean, he's got a crew of guys. They've got 2 of those buggies. They're getting it done, but it would scare the daylights out of me to be driving on that pipe. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. but they're definitely getting it sealed up and laid down.
If you're a little anxious or nervous about doing something, you know, the only way you're going to learn is by doing it. Now, I wouldn't say go out and start with a septic system, but you can start small and work your way up. That's what I did. I pretty much taught myself how to do everything, whether that's been watching how-to videos or reading or, you know, working for other people. I've learned how to do a lot, and it saved me a ton of money over the years.
There's wisdom. There's wisdom and there's courage. He's a scrappy dude. I bet he was a good cop. All right, let's jump ahead and see what this looks like at the end. Okay, nice looking gable truss. Well, it's a good looking house. And as with every other project, you see the veneer and you have no idea of the pain and the process and the money and the expense. And anyhow, it looks to me like this is somebody we could learn from, because he's willing to learn from everybody else. So 2 thumbs up. Mr. Marshall, big accomplishment. We wish you the very best, including with YouTube, because if you got to run a camera while you're trying to do this work, you deserve some recognition. Washing some decomposed granite. Catching it in a wheel, but okay. Truly washed rock. Tamping. Interesting footing. Okay, so this is Josh Stevens, Mr. Chickadee. Some number of you have met Mr. Chickadee on his channel. He's got 300 or 400 subscribers. Jump on him, will you? I've watched him a couple times in my life do esoteric, old school niche things. He put a floor in his blacksmith shop, end grain white oak. I watched him split some rock and hew some rock. This guy is not afraid to do some old school stuff. Okay, so he had some temporary bracing holding that thing plumb. He's got his marks made. He's taking it somewhere, I assume, to start making some cuts, probably with a chisel. Oh, handsaw, hog out some of the material. He's a lefty. We just learned that. Okay, so he's cutting it off at its longest projection, I guess, or just coming in from the corners where the line intersects at the corners. He's got a quadrant so he can go back onto the post appropriately, onto the stone appropriately. No heart center, let me just drill down on that. You hear me preach that a lot. No heart in that piece. He wants it to be stable and not split open. Chiseling to his lines. Eyeballing a fair curve from the various compound curves that he scribed and just chiseling it out. Okay, we're not going to spoil this for you. You've got to watch the video. He does some really great fitting. I mean, Japanese caliber joinery in an apparently northeast setting, just like the settlers did it. He hews the stones, he makes the footings. He has some cool techniques. He uses Japanese shoshugiban to char where it comes in contact with the granite so he gets some life out of it. Let's play a couple seconds. But I got to tell you, Mr. Chickadee does some things that you can lay awake at night and think about and wish that your life had room to try to accomplish some of the same old school techniques. It's awesome. Look at that. Like a glove. And apparently the other one was not an accident. Look at that. And it stands there. All right. I'd be here all day. Let's see what else we got.
I've been an avid DIYer for the last 17 years, trying to save money everywhere I can, and I recently learned a crazy lesson that has completely blown my mind. Sometimes it's more expensive to do things yourself, and that's the lesson we learned when building our dream workshop. There were
Wait. Did you hear that? Drew Witt just dropped a truth bomb. Sometimes it's more expensive to do things yourself. Now, I've never watched this guy. Brady turned me on to him, but he is a woodworker. He 3D prints accessories for his woodworking tools, and he tells the most beautiful stories. Check out his channel. We're going to see how his shop goes.
So for my secret office at the back of the shop, I came up with this idea to build wooden rafters 12 feet in the air. To make it easier on ourselves, we figured out we could just make the grid in sections built on 16-inch centers, and then essentially we had pre-made ceiling modules. And then we did the wonderful work of lifting them up 12 feet in the air on scaffolding and installing them without falling down or getting hurt. And in an upcoming video, I'm going to detail out this office build in the world's coolest shop back.
Okay, so this guy has great camera angle ideas. I got that. He's a woodworker building those module, you know, pergola-esque ceiling members. Looks like he burned them or charred them or something. Man.
Bathroom. But for now, I just wanted to give you a little context of what this was, because you'll see it in the background of the video and wonder why I skipped over it. Now you'll get a kick out of this. While we were installing my dumb ceiling idea, the garage door company showed up and I had to get footage of them installing the 12-foot door. Now tell me the truth. If you were me and you saw someone standing on top of a 12-foot wall that you just made for the first time after learning framing on YouTube, would you mention it to them?
Ha! Yeah, good point. You got to get out of their way. You don't want to say anything that's going to make them drag up and go home, and you don't want them to die. All right, how did that go?
Now, Stan and I was going to point out that I'm probably a bad person for videoing it instead of warning them, and
I didn't tell him, just ran the camera.
A few pallets actually means 18, and it took the guys all day to install it. It cost $5,400 and another $2,700 to add
Okay, it came back to life. $2,700 for
4 zones to our irrigation to water it. There's one thing that's been bothering me on the inside of the workshop, and it's these ugly windows.
All right, so he's confronting covering up the windows in an engineered metal building.
So here's what I did, and it was super cheap. I bought some paint grade beach that was straight line ripped on one side. This means it was up to me to determine the final width, which I was happy to do. This stuff is about $2.25 a board foot where
All right, 2 1/4 a board foot, $2,250 per thousand. That is cheap nowadays. Looks clear, looks nice. What's he doing?
I live, which is stupid cheap. Off camera, I made a simple box using some thick and quick glue and brad nails, nothing fancy, and then I secured the box in the window opening with wood to metal self-tapping screws. Then
That's good as long as that metal doesn't sweat in there. I wonder if there's no thermal break on that metal to the outside, but
I ripped down a bunch of beach to 3.5 inches, and I used my Craig Foreman to speed through a bunch of pocket holes. We made a bunch of super simple frames on the floor that were about 3/8 of an inch larger all the way around for a nice reveal, and then just brad nailed them in place, nothing fancy. I've never trimmed windows like this, and it was the wonderful Keith Johnson who gave me this idea, so thanks, Jerry. Each window here costs $23.20 to trim out.
okay. That's nowhere near enough for you to really understand what he's doing. I don't understand what he's doing, but I understand this. He makes a nice video. He's an accomplished woodworker, and he keeps track of his pennies. $23 to case entirely a big window with hardwood. Can't beat that. I'll bet that by the time we got to the end of this, we would see a beautiful shop turning out some beautiful work. So, those are some channels that when you sit down at YouTube tonight or this weekend and you want to know what you ought to look at, check it out. Shred Pile is the one that really intrigued. No, they all intrigue me. I mean, the kid in Colorado who's a blacksmith and a carpenter, and Mr. Chickadee, and this guy who tells his story so beautifully and then has the woodwork to back it up. Gotta love YouTube. Anyway, spend your time shining a little light on the people who need the light, right? I mean, the heavy hitters have already got all the recognition they need. Throw some love these guys' way, and maybe they will hang with it a little longer. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.